there, Squirrel Army. How's it going? For today, I want to talk about Intrepid Paleontologist and how good I think it is.
You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing.
Alright, so 2 mana, 2/2. Those are alright stats. Adds 1 mana of any color, so it's like most mana dorks that, are 2 mana and add a mana of any color. That's fine. You can pay 2 mana to exile a target card from a graveyard, so it's effectively a scavenging ooze style of an effect. But you can cast dinosaur spells that you've exiled with it, and you may cast a spell this way that when you cast it, it gets a finality counter, so if it would die, you get exile it instead. So I don't really care about the last part of the text. It's nice bit of gravy there on the card, but I'm really interested in the fact that this is a 2 mana dork, which is, an okay, common kind of card. But then it's also basically a scavenging ooze. Even though Scavenging Ooze is 1 mana, it's 1 green mana, so, like 2 generic mana does make it a little bit easier sometimes if you're in a deck that has a whole bunch of different kinds of colors, especially if you're in a more red or white or whatever heavy deck in like Naya colors or whatever it is, or in Gruul colors or in Selesnya colors or whatever. It helps out not having to have green sometimes. And again, you can just tap this for 1 of those mana. You don't have to tap it to exile the card, which is another good thing. So it effectively pays for 1 of the mana by itself when it taps. So you only have to have 1 other mana. So again, it's sort of very similar. Yes, you have to tap it, but that's not that big of a deal. I don't think, for the most part. I just think that the versatility and the utility on it is much, much better than something like Scavenging Ooze, because, like, the problem that I think we find ourselves in Commander is, like, I want some graveyard hate, but the problem is I also want to run my mana dork package or whatever. I need, 10 mana dorks or whatever. I need 10 ramp sources in my deck, and I maybe need 1 or 2 pieces of grave hate. And, I need then probably 5 pieces of single target removal. And then, 10 pieces of card draw. And this and this and this. While you're also trying to be on any given theme. Like, I don't know, Druid Tribal. I don't know, it's just because it's a Druid. Or Human Tribal. A couple of my decks are kind of Human Tribal. So I happened to see this and I was like, oh, this is pretty good for those. But it's also pretty darn decent because, like, having a mana dork and having something that can help you exile people's graveyards deals with 2 things that, most decks kind of want to do or need to at least think about doing. Like, that's why I thought that Armored Scrap Gorger is pretty darn decent, because it's a mana dork effectively and it also exiles people's graveyards. Might be a bit better than this, I'm not too sure, because it basically adds mana and exiles cards when you just tap it for free instead of having to pay 2 mana. But still, I think that being able to have another, grave exiling card in your deck that's also just attached to a mana dork seems quite good, because you're gonna need to run a bunch of these ramp things anyway in your deck. So just running one that has extra utility, yeah, sure, you can cast dinosaurs if somebody happens to be playing dinosaurs at some point during the game if you've got nothing else better to do. Sure, cool, whatever. Or if somebody might be playing like shapeshifters or whatever, they technically are dinosaurs and whatnot, so that does work with that as well, which is a bit weird, but it does work. So there are a few things there that last piece of text does work for. It's not completely irrelevant, I would say, but like, it's not the thing that's drawing me to this card. The things that is drawing me to this card is the fact that, 1, it's a mana dork, which, yeah, sure, that's okay, but again, like, I could have any number of mana dorks in my deck, but still it's all right, not terrible. But the big thing that's really drawing me to it is the fact that it's a mana dog that can exile graveyards, which again is something that a lot of decks need in their package, because otherwise you just lose to the graveyard player. So yeah, like it doing two things that something in my deck would already want me to do or need to do is just ticks for me, and I just want to put it in as many decks as what I can, just to fill slots that are occupied perhaps by things that aren't quite as good or aren't as useful in some way or whatever. Like, it depends what deck it is, but again, like, it's certainly going into 2 or 3 of my decks at this point. I think at least, because it's just so useful at exiling graveyards. So, that's fairly useful for, that, and it, makes mana, so that's useful as well. So again, like 2 uses, and the last use, maybe it'll come up, maybe one day, I don't know. But, again, it can produce mana to cast those dinos, so, if I ever do exile someone's dino, whatever, yeah, that's pretty good. But anyway, guys, that is it for this one. Hope you can tell me what you guys think down there in the comments, because I love to hear those comments or see those comments. And I hope you will join me again in another one.